They say great minds think alike. Last month, I published here on this channel my ranking of the 64 songs in Steely Dan's classic period, from 1972 to 1980. This month, the writers at Rolling Stone magazine published their ranking of Steely Dan songs. Let's compare notes. Hey there, Swan Shadow here. Welcome to the nest. It's kind of like when rival TV networks come up with shows based on very similar premises right at the same time. You know, like when the Addams Family and the Munsters coincidentally turned up in the same TV season. But yeah, Rolling Stone just released their ranking of the Steely Dan catalog mere days after mine finished wrapping up here on YouTube. Now, I'm not saying they were watching, but I'm not saying they weren't. Regardless, I thought it would make sense to seize coincidence by the throat and see how our lists line up. Now, the first thing I notice is that the Rolling Stones ranking includes the songs on the two latter period Steely Dan albums, Two Against Nature, released in 2000, and Everything Must Go, released in 2003. As I said in my very first ranking video, I made a conscious decision not to include those songs in my list, and I talked about the reasons why. I'm working on a video in which I'll share my thoughts about those two albums and the songs on them, as well as another one in which I'll rank all of Steely Dan's studio albums, including the latter two. You'll be seeing both of those videos here on the channel very shortly. Which reminds me, why not subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so that you'll be alerted when new content is good to go. And you might as well give this video a thumbs up while you're clicking all those buttons. Thanks so much. So again, I can't exactly compare my ranking to Rolling Stone's simply because theirs includes 20 songs that I didn't put into mine. That said though, I think we can put the two lists side by side, accounting for that difference, and see where we agree and disagree. I will say, as I did throughout my ranking series, that there are no right or wrong ways to put these songs in order. We all have our own impressions of this music, and we all experience each song in our own way. It's not my purpose here to mock or criticize the Rolling Stone folks for any of their choices. I just thought it would be interesting to look at the contrasts. The first thing I notice about the Rolling Stone list is that most of the songs toward the bottom of the list are in fact from the two latter-day albums. I'm not in any way surprised to see that. But I do note that the lowest ranking song from the classic period, their number 80 out of 84, is the exact same song as landed at the bottom of my ranking at number 64. That's Through with Buzz from the 1974 album Pretzel Logic. So right off the bat, there's at least one agreement. The next four classic period songs going up their list are also toward the bottom of my own: With a Gun, East St. Louis Toodaloo, Chain Lightning, and Turn That Heartbeat Over Again. All of those are in the 50s on my list of 64. In fact, Turn That Heartbeat Over Again is number 60 in my ranking. So we're pretty much in the same ballpark at this point. Our first real discrepancy comes with Your Gold Teeth from the 1973 album Countdown to Ecstasy. They have that song at number 70. I have it at number 35. So clearly I like that one a good deal better than Rolling Stone does. Although they start their commentary on Your Gold Teeth with this sentence: a killer groove from a killer album. That tells me that they wrestled with the same challenge that I did in ranking classic Steely Dan. Not one of those 64 songs sucks. Even a song that they put at number 70 out of 84 is still killer, which is what makes any attempt to rank Steely Dan songs in order of preference so difficult. Every track in this catalog is so good that we have to split the finest of hairs to make distinctions between them. There's a similar disagreement with the next classic tune on their list. Their number 69 is Change of the Guard from the 1972 debut album. I have that one at number 38. So again, that's a track I like a good bit more than the Rolling Stone folks do. Working our way up, past quite a few songs that we rank in the same general range, we come to the first track that occupies the exact same spot on both of our lists. Rose Darling from the 1975 album Katie Lied lands at number 59 on my ranking and also at 59 on Rolling Stone's. We could probably just shake hands and call it a day at that point. We finally completely agree on something. But that consensus lasts exactly one placement, because Rolling Stone's number 58 is Kings from the debut album. That's a song that got into the top half of my listing. It's my number 30. So there again, we have a track that I hold in much higher esteem than Rolling Stone does. They do point out the solid vocal by Donald Fagen and the excellent guitar solo by Elliot Randall, which again demonstrates that even what you might think of as, quote, minor early Dan, end quote, still has qualities to recommend it. Our next sizable difference comes with The Fez from the 1976 album The Royal Scam. Rolling Stone puts The Fez at number 52. It's way up at 19 on my list. They call it a top contender for Steely Dan's funniest song ever, which I would agree with. And they find that it grooves gloriously, even though they think the synth riff is ham-fisted. Okay then. We pass several more songs that we have in similar ranges. Then we get to 3 in a row where our opinions vary widely. They have Night by Night from Pretzel Logic at number 40. I like that song a lot. I have it all the way up at number 16. That's probably the most underappreciated track on Pretzel Logic, in my view. Then their number 40 is Haitian Divorce from The Royal Scam, which is my number 20. They note that Haitian Divorce was Steely Dan's highest charting single ever in the UK. So I guess I'm with the Brits on that one. And then their number 39 is Charlie Freak, which, while a well-crafted song, is one of my least favorite classic period tracks. I put Charlie all the way down at 61 out of 64. As I said in my previous comments on this one, sorry, Charlie. It's interesting that Rolling Stone includes the previously lost track, The Second Arrangement, in their ranking, at number 37. I didn't include that song in my ranking for 2 reasons. Number 1, it never appeared on a Steely Dan album during the classic period. In fact, it's only been within the last couple of years that studio engineer Roger Nichols' daughters uncovered a recording of the song in their late father's personal effects that is mostly completed. But that brings me to my number 2 reason for not ranking it. We still don't have a recording of the second arrangement that exactly represents the way Becker and Fagen would have wanted the world to hear it. Now, I think it's a really solid song. Number 37 doesn't sound at all unreasonable if you're going to find a placement for it. But for the reasons that I've mentioned, I didn't put it on my list. The next group of tracks, again, fall into similar ranges on both lists. We have a bit of a variance on Here at the Western World. That's my number 8, but Rolling Stone places it at number 30. They do have quite a bit of good to say about it. They call it arguably the greatest Steely Dan non-album track, which seems like fairly high praise. And they say that Becker and Fagen rarely paired understatement with pitch black darkness as effectively as they did here. Again, that's a perceptive compliment. It's a really great song that they had to put at number 30 because they like 29 other songs just that much more. I understand that feeling. Number 29 on both lists is Don't Take Me Alive from The Royal Scam. That's only the second track that both Rolling Stone and I slotted into the exact same numerical spot. Now we have quite a disparity on Daddy Don't Live in That New York City No More from Katy Lied. Rolling Stone put that one at number 26. It's almost at the very bottom of my list. It was my number 63 out of the 64 classic period songs. They appear to have given a significant amount of weight to the fact that it's the first Steely Dan track on which Larry Carlton plays guitar. Now, you know how much I love Larry Carlton. I'm sure we're going to come back to that at some point. So I can't really fault them on that one. Even so, I'm really surprised to see that song ranked that high up. But moving on. As we climb up the Rolling Stone list, we start to see quite a few tracks where the differences in ranking become fairly stark. They have Glamour Profession at number 22. I have it at number 48. It's one of the weaker tracks on Gaucho, in my estimation. We do a flip on FM. They place it at number 21, whereas it's my number 4, and was one of the songs I actually considered for number 1. They have Bodhisattva, Sign In Stranger, and Your Gold Teeth 2 at 20, 19, and 18. All three of those are much lower for me, 39, 36, and 41 respectively. They put two of my top 6, Any Major Dude Will Tell You and Hey 19, at 17 and 14 respectively. So looking at Rolling Stone's top 10, at number 10 they have Black Cow. That's my number 9, so we're pretty much in alignment on that one. Their number 9 is Gaucho, which I slotted much further down at number 28. However, I know that's a song that a lot of fans would place higher than I did, so I'm not really all that surprised. It's even possible that I might have it a little too low. At number 8, Rolling Stone has My Old School, which is my number 3. I would think that's going to be in the top 10 somewhere for almost every serious Steely Dan fan. At number 7, they have Peg, which just missed my top 10 at number 11, so we're very close on that one. Their number 6 is Dr. Wu, which is my number 7. We agree almost completely on that one. Their number 5 is Asia. It's my number 17, but I am on record as thinking I might have ranked Asia not quite high enough. If I reworked my ranking, I feel reasonably certain that Asia would come in above where I have it on my current list. Which takes us to Rolling Stone's top 4. Their number 4 is Ricky Don't Lose That Number, which is my number 10, so it's top 10 for both of us. I don't find that surprising at all. What I do find surprising is that they have Dirty Work all the way up at number 3. Wow! That one is all the way down at number 34 on my list. Personally, I don't understand how you can have a Steely Dan song that doesn't even have Donald Fagen singing lead on it in the top 10, much less as high as number 3. Now, don't get me wrong, Dirty Work is a fine song, but David Palmer's lead vocal just knocks down the recorded version for me. I actually like the more recent live performances of Dirty Work much better, where the female backup singers take the lead vocal. I think that twist on the song works really, really well. I just can't see ranking the David Palmer version this high. But, as I always say, everyone experiences music in their own way. If you hear Dirty Work as a number 3 level track, I'm not going to argue. I just can't get on that train with you. So Rolling Stone's top 2 are also my top 2, just in reverse order. They put Kid Charlemagne in the number 2 slot, and Deacon Blues at number 1. I have zero complaint about that. As I've mentioned, either of those songs could be my number 1 on any given day. Certainly as I was compiling my ranking, they moved back and forth between those 2 spots. I think those two tracks really epitomize the two sides of Steely Dan. Kid Charlemagne is grittier and rocks a little harder, thanks to the brilliant guitar playing of Larry Carlton. I told you we'd get back to him. And it harkens back to the best of the early portion of their catalog. Deacon Blues gives us that cool, smooth, jazzier flavor that Becker and Fagen trademarked in the later portion of their classic period. Any ranking of Steely Dan songs that has those two songs at the top got at least that much right. So yeah, it's always interesting to see how other people hear Steely Dan songs and rank them in order. I think the only real standout weakness in the Rolling Stone list for me is Dirty Work at number 3. Just hard for me to see that one that high. But it is what it is. The real question is, how do you rank the Steely Dan catalog? Does your list look more like Rolling Stone's or more like mine? Or do you have a completely different take on this amazing music? Let me know in the comments below. As I've promised, I have a Steely Dan album ranking coming, as well as my specific take on the 2 latter period albums. Stay tuned for that, and a whole lot more. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit it with a like, and subscribe to this channel and to notifications if you haven't done that already. We're trying to grow our little corner of YouTube, and we really appreciate your support. Until next time, be well and stay steely. And you know what's next? Is there gas in the car? Yes, there's gas in the car.